You're welcome. There you go. Good man.
Kevin Holland is a very strange creature these days. Perhaps he always has been, but lately it feels like his shtick might be wearing a little thin on the fan base. In some ways, it feels like he's just been spinning his wheels in his career for the last few years, very hesitant to make any adjustments or set his sights higher, but at the same time, it feels like his jovial, goofy attitude that made him a fan favorite has morphed into something a little more mean-spirited and egocentric.
I think it's an ego problem. That's what I think.
Think it's an ego problem?
That's what I think.
I don't have much of an ego.
Since we've been honest.
Unless we're sitting across the table, we're both shooting 45-70s, we're trying to see who can hit the target. I don't have much of an ego.
Well, I'm just
Do you know what a 45-70 is?
I'm just telling.
Do you know what a 45-70 is?
I'm just telling my opinion. You gave your opinion about my temper tantrum?
Yeah, I mean, I feel you 100%.
Okay, it's an opinion,
I'm just
right?
saying, like, if it's not a 45-70 that we're shooting across the room, trying to see who hits the target, I'm not worried about it. Do you know what a 45-70 is?
No, I don't.
Okay, then shut the fuck up.
You'll tell me shut the fuck up?
Yeah.
TLDR is Kevin's just kind of a douchebag right now and is floundering a bit in his career. He's losing fans fast. The comparison has often been made between him and Spider-Man in the way that he talks smack in the middle of fights to calm his nerves. And so for calling him the Spider-Man of UFC, nowadays it feels like he's in his symbiote era. On top of all this, his fighting career feels certifiably aimless. He went from someone I was looking forward to on every card to someone that I'm more or less bored with. It's just kind of boring now. Kevin prides himself on being one of the only fighters who doesn't care about the belts. He's just here to fight, get paid, put on a show, and once upon a time that was an exciting prospect. Holland got his claim to fame in his legendary 2021 where he fought 5 times in the calendar year, winning every single one of them, and this boosted his stock dramatically. He had surefire talent, power in his hands, and a very unique personality to boot. I think once he got a hit of that glory, being known as the anytime, anywhere, short notice guy, he was hooked. He's been chasing that feeling his entire career. He wants to break records in alternative avenues, just being champ. Issue is he's never really had a year as good as 2020 since then. He's been pretty much a win 2, lose 2 or 3 type of fighter, clearly struggling to build the same kind of momentum he once had. And over time, his I don't care about the belts attitude has started to feel like more of a cope instead of a fun thing it used to be. It's like he prepares himself ahead of time mentally that he's not even really trying to be the best, so when he gets beat by better competition, he doesn't have to deal with it. I don't know. Either way, it makes it very hard to get excited for his fights these days when the guy could really give a shit whether he wins or loses. Kevin, if you don't care, why should we care?
Why are you not focused on the belt? Like, why is that something that doesn't...
Why are you guys so focused on the fucking belt all the time? Like, well, excuse my language, but why are you so focused on the belt? I just told you I'm not worried about the belt, then you go back and repeat, ask me about the belt. Like, I'm not worried about the belt. Why are you so worried about the belt? You don't even fight for a living. Why are you so worried about the belt?
Well, I'm not worried. I don't fight.
I'm not worried about it either. Why are you so worried about it?
That's why I'm asking. Well,
I'm not worried about it.
So what the fuck happened? How did he go from everyone's favorite plucky feature fight goofball who could occasionally kick ass to a big-headed asshole who makes it feel very hard to be a fan of him these days? Now, Holland always had talent and a pretty decent regional career pre-UFC with some good wins, including a KO over Jeff Neal, if you can believe that. He actually earned a spot on Dana White's Contender Series and managed to score a unanimous decision. So did he solidify himself as a UFC prospect? Well, no, because the guy would not shut the fuck up.
I almost whooped him when I first got him. Yeah.
Watch how you lean in, Kevin.
This guy comes in and is talking shit the entire fight. So I said, I'm not signing this guy. I don't want him. I'm not interested in him. So Thiago Santos' fight falls out, right? And I said, let's call some contender guys in that we liked. They all turned down the fight. I said, call Big Mouth. I want to see if Big Mouth takes this fight.
Kevin accepted the call and came in, bringing all his dorky swagger with him, and while he kind of got his ass whooped for a little bit, he showed an immense amount of resolve in the process, not wilting under the pressure, scrambling to his feet, and even catching Santos a couple times. In spite of the loss, he caught the fans' eye. Holland would come back with 3 wins in a row over John Phillips, GM3, and Alessio De Chirico, proving that he had the skills and desire to win and make some moves in the promotion. His momentum would unfortunately be halted by a debuting Brendan Allen, however, who submitted him in the second round after some back and forth in the first. But then, Kevin Holland would really make a splash in 2020 with the aforementioned 5 wins in a row. He knocks the snot out of the noses of Anthony Hernandez and Joaquin Buckley, takes Darren Stewart to a decision, submits Charlie Ontiveros, is a bit of a weird fluke injury to be fair, and then KOs Jacare Souza off his back like a mini Johnny Walker to close out the year. He was firmly on the map now. I also want to mention that I think Kevin Holland is one of the only fighters that is maybe better in the Apex. The dead silence in the arena aided to his quipping, and I don't feel like it would have really come across the same way if he was in a regular, loud ass arena. And that's pretty much the only credit I will ever give the Apex, so enjoy it. Now here's where things started to go downhill, however. Holland would go on to drop 2 losses in a row to Derek Brunson and Marvin Vettori back-to-back in fights that consisted of Kevin essentially getting grapple-fucked and not seeming to take it that seriously. This was the first time his jokey attitude about everything seemed to be more of a hindrance than a help. It became pretty obvious at this point in his career that if he could just avoid his power and close the distance, the takedowns would come fairly easily, and depending on which Kevin Holland you were fighting that night, he might not even fight back that hard. It seriously felt like once he was down, he was content with just staying down. This also raised the question of if he was even good enough to hang with the elite at 185 since he got dominated so soundly twice. He go on to have one more fight at 185 against Kyle Dawkins, where ended unceremoniously via a headbutt. So kind of whatever, it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. It was clear that Holland needed to make some changes, and for the first time he did. And no, it wasn't Dagestan for 2 years, which is what he probably should have done, but rather dropping down to welterweight. He wasn't always the biggest middleweight, to be honest, and the strength difference between him and the others up there was pretty evident, but at welterweight, dude was pretty big. It could pose some serious problems. This seemed to be the case when he knocked out Alex Oliveira and submitted Tim Means back-to-back. He then went on to drop a loss to Hamzat Chimaev later in the same year, but this was on about a day's notice, and I don't care if you have anchors in your pockets, no one stops that takedown, so no harm, no foul. He capped off 2022 with the main event against Wonder Boy, and would unfortunately drop another loss in the process, but put on a fun-ass fight, and had a broken hand no less, so his stock didn't really drop from these 2 losses. He'd then crack into the rankings with a pair of finishes over Santiago Ponzinibbio and Michael Chiesa. So what's this? This is interesting. We're ranked at welterweight. Again, unfortunately, this wouldn't last very long as he'd go on to lose to JDM in a close back and forth and then get sort of embarrassed on the feet by MVP in the following fight. I think what's clear at this point in Holland's career is that there's a bit of a pattern we can follow. He gains some steam, beats some fighters at the cusp of the rankings, and then immediately loses to more elite competition. Rinse and repeat. It was around this time I became aware of just how little Kevin Holland cares about this climbing the rankings and potentially earning a title shot thing.
Why are you guys so focused on the fucking belt all the time? Like, excuse my language, but why are you so focused on the belt? I just told you I'm not worried about the belt, then you go back and repeat, ask me about the belt. Like, I'm not worried about the belt. Why are you so worried about the belt?
Compare this Kevin Holland to the one taunting cage-side champ Adesanya back in 2020. He was clearly feeling himself in this moment and was volleying words at the champ like he thought he could beat him or something. Crazy. I get wanting to just focus on getting the bag and all that and yada yada, but I find it hard to believe that Holland wouldn't seize the opportunity to go for gold if he racked up enough wins to do so. It just feels like around this time he became aware of the fact that every time he fought top level competition he lost, and so he just wanted to make it clear to everyone that he really doesn't care about belts and we should stop expecting him to. Guys, he doesn't care about belts. He's not trying. He doesn't care, so you can't get mad at him for it. After all, I guess he can't feel too bad about himself if he's not really trying that hard, I guess. Anyways, he's recently decided to go back up to middleweight for some reason, and after a first-round sub over Olan Jacek, he's dropped 2 losses in a row to Roman Dolidze and Rainier de Ritter. So same thing, take someone out on the fringe of the rankings and then get beat by higher-ranked fighters. In the case of those last 2, it seriously felt like he caved pretty quickly to the grappling pressure, which gives you the sense he hasn't really worked on it all that much. I also find the decision to go back up to the weight class where he had a strength and size disadvantage to be bizarre, if nothing else. It just comes off like he doesn't even want to cut the weight anymore. And another thing, if he's not trying to take fights that have him climbing towards a belt, then what are these grapple fuck matchups? I'm not saying that's his fault, that's on the UFC, and kudos to him for saying yes, but do these scream fan-friendly barn burners to you? At this point, it just feels like he's intentionally not accomplishing anything as far as ranking implications are concerned, and he's unintentionally not accomplishing being a prize fighter putting on bangers either. Right now, he's just kind of accomplishing nothing, and it's boring. It's fine to lose, but when you make it clear you don't care, then how can you expect your fans to rally behind you? I'm a fan of this guy truly, but it's been frustrating recently, and his attitude switch to whatever the hell he's going for right now makes it hard to root for him.
Because you don't understand what a 45-70 is.
He doesn't know what a 45...
You're talking about ego. Now I'm giving you some ego.
Okay. So,
ego's when you don't understand what a 45-70 is.
Okay, so
that pisses me off.
That pisses you, because I don't know what a 45-70 is.
That fucks with my ego a little bit. What type of man are you don't know what a 45-70 is?
Because I don't know what a 45-70 is.
Yeah, that's kind of retarded.
It's retarded.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what a 45-70 is.
Yeah.
Do you know what a 45-70 is?
I would assume that it's an AR.
Some sort of rifle.
I assume that it's some type of gun, but do I know what a 45-70 is?
No, you should know what a 45.
What is
Why?
it, Kevin? Tell
You're
us
a
what
big
it
guy.
is.
You should know what a 45.
Why
Kevin,
should
what
I
is
know
it?
what a 45-70
It's
is?
a little bit smaller than a 50 cal.
It's a little bit smaller than 50
I mean,
cal?
probably a lot taller than a 50 cal.
What state do I live in?
You need to live in Texas.
But what state do I live in?
Then you can see about that ego we're talking about.
But what state do I
Ugh. Anyways, hope Holland can turn things around, go back to welterweight, call out Luke or Jeff Neal or something winnable and fan-friendly, since that's what you want to go for. I think that's fair. That will go a long way longer than you knowing what a 45-70 is.